right? And what you're providing. So I think it's a great idea that you're focusing on companies that, you're creating that link. But how can companies be more open towards working with startups? How do you convince them? I'm sure it's not an easy process.
So I can take a stab at this, but I think some of the other panelists will also have very valid opinions.
That's an open discussion for everyone.
Honestly, there are two trajectories, right? There's one where it's top-down mandate, where somebody's boss says, hey, we want to do something with innovation. Innovation is really popular. Work with startups, and then you have to translate that into actual operations. So there's a desire, but not necessarily an organization that's been built to solve that particular challenge. And there's the other route where it's kind of more integrated and it's more bottom up. But I think ultimately the major distinction between these two is that if you are building the capacity to fail into your culture, you will be more open to innovation. In the absence of that, it is very hard to get corporates to really get to wrap around, because I've worked in both, right? The pace of work is very different. The culture of work is very different. There are things you think about in a startup that you never think about in a corporate, and vice versa. If the people on the teams are not like Alia, who are switched on, understanding of what the nuance of working with a startup is, typically they're programs that are geared to fail. They look nice, but they're CSR opportunities. And I don't mean CSR in a challenging way. I mean, they're just PR opportunities. But in terms of the value and the impact, is we don't see it sustainably or scalably.
See, I'd like to add the point here on what Noor is saying. And to your point, Sahar, the open innovation culture, it is relevantly, let's say, not that new, but it's been applied only recently. And open innovation not necessarily is with startups. You don't always need a startup for that. You may make it internal with your own teams. But the idea, it's a top-down thing. It's a completely change management. You need a different set of management. This is why there are some organizations that their R&D and innovation, it is in a different building, because the people running the operation, see Apple, for example. Apple, they do not, their innovation building is not the same of the operational building, because most of the guys, they see the innovation coming in, they plug them in the business, and then they roll it out. And you don't have this culture available everywhere. And this is why, I have noticed that there are very, very few companies in the region here that understand the open innovation culture. Some, they understand it really to develop, because you know how business grows, right? So if this is your trend, every time you innovate until you stay on the top margin, right? So if you don't, as you can see, every couple of months, Apple launches a new phone, another company launches something new, because the people's needs are changing very fast. And this is why you need to keep innovating. But what does this mean? It means you're changing the company's mindset from a solution-based mindset into a problem-solving mindset. So problem solution fit.